"Mommy, is that our daddy?" 5-year-old Lily's innocent question shattered Sienna's heart into 1,000 pieces. On the restaurant's television screen, Adrian Blackstone commanded attention as he always had, devastating in a charcoal suit, those piercing blue eyes that had once looked at her with love now cold as winter steel. "And yes, the rumors are true," he told the reporter with that razor-sharp smile. "Miranda Wessington and I will be married this Christmas." It's time Blackstone Industries had a proper first lady. Sienna's hands trembled as she reached for the remote, but Leo, her quieter twin, caught her wrist. "He looks like me," the boy whispered, studying the screen with Adrian's same intense focus. Same eyes, same hair. God, how'd she thought she could keep running? 5 years of careful hiding, of minimum-wage jobs and tiny apartments, of telling herself the twins were better off never knowing their father. But genetics didn't lie. Every day, they looked more like him. Leo, with his brilliant mind that solved puzzles meant for children twice his age, Lily with her fierce determination and natural command over every playground she entered. "That's just a man on TV," Sienna managed, hating the lie, but knowing the truth would destroy everything. "Come on, babies. Let's go home." But as she bundled her children out of the diner, away from the image of Adrian announcing his engagement to another woman, one thought screamed through her mind. He really never looked for us. Not once. How do you explain to 5-year-olds that their father, worth $2.5 billion, powerful enough to find anyone, simply didn't want them to exist? How do you tell them their mother chose poverty over palace walls? Because sometimes love means protecting your children from the parent who would have erased them. If you've ever kept a devastating secret to protect someone you love, you'll understand why Sienna James ran. But first, let me tell you about the night she discovered she was carrying twins, and the cold words that sent her fleeing from the only man she'd ever loved. 5.5 years earlier, the pregnancy test mocked her from the marble bathroom counter. 2 pink lines. Positive. After 3 years of marriage, a baby was growing inside her. No babies. The private doctor had confirmed it that afternoon. Twins. 2 heartbeats fluttering like butterfly wings on the ultrasound. She'd cried right there on the examination table, overwhelmed by joy and terror in equal measure. Adrian would be home soon from his Tokyo merger. She'd tell him over dinner, watch his face transform with the same wonder she felt. They'd talked about children before, hadn't they? Well, she'd talked. He'd always redirected, but that was just Adrian, focused on building his empire, making sure everything was perfect before taking next steps. Sienna touched her still flat stomach, imagining it round with their children. Blackstone heirs. She practiced in the mirror. Adrian, we're having twins. The penthouse elevator chimed. He was early. Sienna? His voice carried that edge of exhaustion that came from 20-hour negotiations. She found him in his office, already pouring scotch despite her carefully planned dinner waiting in the dining room. Still in his suit from the flight, he looked like a beautiful disaster. Tie loosened, jaw shadowed with stubble. Those blue eyes that had captured her heart now staring at acquisition contracts. How was Tokyo? She crossed him, kissing his cheek. Productive. The Yamamoto deal closed. He didn't look up from his papers. We'll net $500 million in the first quarter alone. Adrian, I have something to tell you. Can it wait? I need to review these before. I'm pregnant. The words fell into silence. His hands stilled on the contracts. Slowly, he looked up, and the expression on his face wasn't wonder. It was calculation. You're certain? Yes. I saw Dr. Morrison today. Adrian, we're having twins. He stood abruptly, moving to the window. The city glittered below them, his kingdom of glass and steel. When he spoke, his voice was controlled. Too controlled. How did this happen? You're on birth control. It can fail. But Adrian, this is wonderful news. Twins. Can you imagine? I can imagine exactly what this means. He turned, and she saw not her husband, but the so everyone feared. This is the worst possible timing. The Henderson hostile takeover, the European expansion. I cannot have distractions right now. Distractions? The word punched through her chest. These are our children. They're potential complications. Do you know what pregnancy does to a woman's body? The medical risks with multiples? Not to mention the media circus, the security concerns, the... Stop. She couldn't breathe. Just stop. Are you actually suggesting I'm suggesting we think rationally. There are options. Discreet clinics that... No. The word ripped from her soul. Adrian, these are our babies. Your children. Children I never agreed to. Children that will derail everything I've built. His voice turned ice cold, the tone he used to destroy competitors. I won't let 18 years of obligation ruin what 3 generations of Blackstones created. If your heart is breaking for Sienna right now, you're not alone. When a man you love sees your miracles as mistakes, what choice do you have? Hit that like button if you believe she made the right decision to run. And subscribe, because what happens when Adrian discovers the truth 5 years later will leave you breathless. Sometimes the most powerful men learn their greatest lessons from what money can't buy back. You're upset, Adrian said, his CEO mask sliding into place. That's understandable. Hormones are already affecting your judgment. Let me call Dr. Morrison, arrange for a consultation. Don't you dare. Sienna backed away from him. Don't you dare reduce our children to a business problem you need to solve. That's exactly what they are. He moved toward her, every inch the predator who'd consumed smaller companies whole. A problem with a solution. You'll see reason once the hormones settle. And if I don't, his expression hardened to granite. Then you'll do it anyway. I won't have children, Sienna. Not now, not ever. Their liabilities, emotional and financial drains that serve no purpose except to complicate wealth distribution. Is that what you were to your father? A liability? The slap of her words made him flinch. Augustus Blackstone had been a cold, calculating man who saw his son as an heir first, human second. Adrian had sworn he'd be different, but here he stood, ready to erase his own children for stock prices. I'm being practical, he said quietly. Something you seem incapable of. Make the appointment, Sienna, or I will. You'd force me. I'd expect you to honor the life we've built. The agreement we had. We never agreed to this. We're married, Adrian. Married people have children. Weak people have children. People who need someone to carry on their pathetic legacies because they couldn't build anything lasting themselves. His words were scalpels, cutting deep. I don't need heirs. I need a wife who understands priorities. Sienna stared at the stranger wearing her husband's face. 3 years of marriage, of loving him through his walls and wounds, of believing she could warm his frozen heart. But some ice went too deep to thaw. He laughed. Then you need a different wife, breaking glass, she whispered. Don't be dramatic. You'll make the appointment tomorrow. We'll handle this quietly, and things will return to normal. Normal. She tested the word, found it poisonous. Will you control everything and everyone? Where our children's lives are worth less than quarterly reports. Where we live in reality instead of fantasy. He returned to his desk, dismissing her. Dr. Morrison, expect your call by noon. Don't disappoint me, Sienna. But Sienna was already planning. While Adrian reviewed contracts worth billions, she mentally cataloged what she could fit in a single suitcase. While he calculated profit margins, she calculated how far she could run on the money in her personal account. By dawn, as Adrian slept in their king-size bed, Sienna stood in the doorway with 1 bag and 2 positive pregnancy tests tucked in her pocket. She left her wedding rings on his pillow, the 5-carat diamond and platinum band that had once meant forever. The note she left was simple. I could choose them. Because sometimes love means leaving. Sometimes protecting your children means running from their father. And sometimes the bravest thing a mother can do is walk away from $2.5 billion to give her baby something money could never buy, a chance to be wanted. Adrian Blackstone would wake to an empty penthouse and a cold bed, never knowing that his ex-wife carried away the only legacy that truly mattered. 2 tiny hearts beating in defiance of his decree. 2 souls who would grow up calling another man daddy, if it meant keeping them safe from the one who'd ordered their erasure. The billionaire could buy anything except what he'd thrown away. And 5 years later, fate made him face exactly what his cold calculation had cost him. The alarm shrieked at 4:47 a.m., 17 minutes late, because the power had flickered again in their cramped apartment. Sienna jolted awake on the pull-out couch. The twins needed the bedroom and immediately checked her phone. 3 missed calls from the diner. Her morning shift had started at 4:30. "Damn it," she whispered, rushing through the dark to throw on her uniform. The polyester smelled like grease and broken dreams, but it paid the bills. Barely. She peeked into the bedroom, where Lily and Leo slept tangled together like puppies. Even in sleep, they looked like Adrian, those sharp cheekbones, the aristocratic nose. But their hearts, thank God, were all hers. 20 minutes later, she burst through the diner's back door. "I'm sorry, Sal. The power. Save it." Her manager didn't look up from the grill. "Table 6 has been waiting 10 minutes. And Sienna? One more late arrival, and you're done." She swallowed her pride along with her excuses. Pride didn't pay for Leo's glasses or Lily's dance classes. Pride didn't keep the lights on, even when they worked. Meanwhile, across the city in a penthouse that cost more than she'd make in a lifetime, Adrian Blackstone stood in his empty bedroom, watching the sunrise he no longer enjoyed. The California king bed looked like a desert of Egyptian cotton. The walk-in closet held 40 tailored suits and an echoing silence. "Your coffee, Mr. Blackstone." His housekeeper, Margaret, set the sterling silver tray on his dresser. Same time every morning for 5 years. Same Colombian dark roast. Same bone china cup. Same crushing emptiness. "The journal article about your engagement made the front page," Margaret offered, trying for conversation. She'd worked for the family 20 years, had seen him grow from cold boy to frozen man. Miss Wessington looked lovely at the gala. Adrian glanced at the newspaper. Miranda draped on his arm like an expensive accessory, which is exactly what she was. Beautiful, connected, utterly without warmth. The perfect wife for a man who decided love was a liability. "Cancel my morning meetings," he said suddenly. "Sir, but the Shanghai conference." "Cancel them." He found himself in his home office, standing before the wall of achievements. Fortune covers, industry awards, photos with presidents and prime ministers, billions in acquisitions represented in framed deal announcements, and not a single picture of her. He'd erased Sienna so thoroughly that sometimes he wondered if she'd been real. Only the divorce papers proved she'd existed, papers she'd never contested, money she'd never claimed. She'd vanished like smoke, leaving only the echo of her last words. "I choose them." His hand moved unconsciously to his desk drawer, the one he never opened. Inside, wrapped in tissue, lay her wedding rings. He meant to sell them, donate them, throw them away. Instead, they sat like accusations in his drawer, worth more than most people's houses, but worthless compared to what he'd lost. Not that he'd lost anything. He'd made a rational decision. Children were complications. Love was weakness. Sienna's departure had proved him right. When pushed, everyone left. Better to never depend on anyone. The whiskey in his coffee couldn't drown the memory of her voice. "These are our children. Our children." What they've looked like. Her gentle brown eyes or his cold blue. Her warm laugh or his calculated silence. "Boys. Girls. Twins," she'd said. He slammed the drawer shut. 5 years of wondering was 5 years too many. He had an empire to run, a convenient marriage to execute, a legacy to protect. What-ifs were for weak men, and Adrian Blackstone hadn't built a $2.5 billion fortune on weakness. "Leo, give it back." Lily's voice carried through the apartment's thin walls as Sienna rushed to get them ready for school. She found her son holding his sister's favorite doll above his head, using his 3-inch height advantage. Not until you admit that quantum physics is cooler than ballet. "Mommy, he's being mean." Lily's lower lip trembled, but her eyes sparked with fury that was pure Adrian. Leopold Adrian James. Sienna used his full name, watching him wince. "Give your sister a doll. Now." He complied with a sigh that belonged on a 40-year-old stockbroker, not a 5-year-old. She started it. "So my telescope was stupid." "I said it was stupid to look at stars when you could be dancing under them," Lily corrected, clutching her doll. "That's different." Sienna knelt between them, still in her diner uniform that now sported new coffee stains. "What have we talked about? We're a team. Teams don't fight each other. They chorused, then glared at each other with identical stubborn expressions. God, they were so much like him. Leo, with his frightening intelligence, already reading at a fourth-grade level and asking questions about mathematical concepts that sent her to Google. Lily with her iron wool wrapped in tulle, commanding her kindergarten classroom like a tiny general in pink. "Mommy, why don't we have a daddy?" Leo asked suddenly. "Everyone else has one. Even Jimmy Peterson," and he picks his nose. Sienna's heart clenched. "They've been asking more lately. Remember what I told you? Sometimes families look different. We have each other, and that's what matters." "But where is he?" Lily persisted. "Did he die like Grandma and Grandpa?" "No, baby. He's far away. Could we find him?" Leo's analytical mind was already working. "I learned about DNA in my science book. We could." Leopold. Her voice was sharper than intended. "Some questions don't have answers we're ready for.
Herded them
Now
toward
come
the
on."
door, or we'll be late.
Backpacks bouncing. Sienna caught their reflection in the hallway mirror. Two little faces that carried Blackstone genes whether she liked it or not. Two brilliant souls who deserved more than double shifts and overdue bills. But they were safe. Safe from a father who'd wanted them erased. Safe from a world where their worth would be measured in stock portfolios instead of crayon drawings. Safe from learning that to Adrian Blackstone, they were just complications he'd ordered eliminated. "Mommy," Lily tugged her hand. "When I grow up, I'm going to be rich. Then you won't have to work at the smelly diner anymore." "Me too," Leo added. "I'll invent something amazing and buy you a big house." Sienna's eyes burned with unshed tears. "You two are already my treasures, worth more than all the money in the world." If only their father could see what he'd thrown away. But Adrian Blackstone had made his choice 5 years ago, and Sienna had made hers. Some bridges, once burned, could never be rebuilt. Some secrets were worth keeping forever. The first near miss happened at the grocery store. Sienna was comparing prices on cereal. The twins wanted name brand, but generic would save $2 when she heard it. That laugh, deep, controlled, edged with authority that made strong men stammer. "Adrian." She grabbed the twins, abandoning their half-full cart, and ducked into the next aisle. Her heart hammered as she heard his voice getting closer. "Yes, tell Harrison the deal's off if he can't meet our terms." A pause. "I don't care about his family situation. Business is business. Still the same. Still cutting people down to profit margins." "Mommy, why are we hiding?" Lily whispered. "Show, baby. Just a game." But Leo, too smart for his own good, peered around the corner. "There's a man in a really nice suit. He looks angry." Adrian passed their aisle, phone pressed to his ear, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Tom Ford, same as always. He never looked their way, too focused on destroying someone's livelihood to notice the family hiding in the cereal aisle. The second close call was worse. The twin school was having a fundraiser. Some tech company had donated tablets, and the CEO was coming for a photo op Sienna had volunteered to help set up, needing the volunteer hours to offset tuition assistance. She was arranging cookies when the principal's voice boomed. "Everyone, please welcome Mr. Adrian Blackstone from Blackstone Industries." The plate slipped from her hands, shattering on the gymnasium floor. She dropped to her knees, gathering pieces with shaking hands as expensive shoes approached. "Let me help." A woman's voice, his assistant. Not him. Not yet. But she could hear him charming the principal, discussing education technology, playing the benevolent billionaire. The same man who'd wanted his own children eliminated was here, pretending to care about kids. "Sienna," Mrs. Patterson, the volunteer coordinator, called out. "Could you refill the coffee?" She fled to the kitchen, stayed hidden until the entourage left. But Leo found her there later, his face troubled. "That man gave a speech," her son said, "about reaching for the stars and never accepting limitations. He sounded sad, Mommy, like he was talking to someone who wasn't there." That night, Sienna held her sleeping twins extra tight. Adrian Blackstone might command boardrooms and destroy companies, but he would never command their hearts. He would never know that his greatest acquisitions had been sleeping in a school he'd visited, close enough to touch but invisible as ghosts. Some fortunes couldn't be measured in billions. and some losses couldn't be calculated until at the emergency room at 2 a.m. looked like desperation painted in fluorescent lights. Sienna cradled Leo against her chest, his small body burning with fever while Lily clung to her leg, both children still in their pajamas. "Please," she begged the admitting nurse. "He's been having seizures. His temperature won't break. Something's wrong. Ma'am, without insurance, you'll need to provide payment up front for specialized treatment. The tests alone, I'll pay." Sienna's voice cracked. "I'll sign whatever you need. Just please help my son." Dr. Patel appeared after what felt like hours, but was probably minutes. His face, after examining Leo, told her everything she feared. "Mrs. James, your son has a rare neurological condition. The seizures are a symptom, without immediate specialized treatment. Tell me what he needs." There's a pediatric neurosurgeon who specializes in this condition, Dr. Miranda Chun, but she only operates out of one facility. He hesitated. "Blackstone Medical Center. It's the only hospital in the state with the equipment needed for this procedure." The world tilted. Blackstone Medical, Adrian's crown jewel, the medical facility he'd built to pioneer cutting-edge treatments. Of course fate would be this cruel. The procedure itself is experimental, not covered by traditional insurance. The cost, Dr. Patel named a figure that might as well have been $1 billion. "I'll find the money." The words came from some primal place where mothers made impossible promises. "Just stabilize him for transfer." But as she filled out paperwork with shaking hands, the administrator delivered the killing blow. "Mrs. James, Blackstone Medical requires pre-authorization for all pediatric neurosurgery cases. Given the experimental nature and cost, this would need approval from Mr. Blackstone himself. He personally reviews all charity cases." Sienna's knees nearly buckled. "There has to be another way. I'm sorry. Dr. Chun is exclusive to Blackstone Medical. Without their approval." The administrator didn't finish. Didn't need to. Lily tugged her mother's shirt. "Mommy, why are you crying? Is Leo going to be okay?" Sienna looked at her daughter, Adrian's eyes staring back at her, full of fear, then at her son, so small and vulnerable on the hospital bed. 5 years of running, of protecting them, of keeping their secret. All of it crumbling because of a microscopic malformation in Leo's brain that only Adrian's money could fix. "Yes, baby," she whispered, though the words felt like swallowing glass. "Leo's going to be fine. Mommy's going to fix this." Even if it meant walking back into hell. Even if it meant facing the man who'd wanted them erased. Because that's what mothers did. They saved their children, no matter the cost of themselves. By dawn, Sienna stood outside Blackstone Industries, wearing her only good dress, holding Leo's medical files like a shield. The building touched the sky, all black glass and steel ambition. Somewhere up there, Adrian was probably already at his desk, ruling his empire, never knowing his son was dying 40 floors below. Can you imagine the terror of needing help from the very person you've spent years protecting your children from? If your heart is racing as Sienna walks into that building, hit that like button. What would you sacrifice to save your child? Comment below and don't forget to subscribe, because this reunion is about to shatter every wall they've built. Sometimes life forces us to face our deepest fears, and Sienna's about to face hers in an Armani suit. The executive floor hadn't changed. Same marble floors that clicked under expensive heels. Same modern art that cost more than houses. Same secretary guarding Adrian's office like a corporate service. Sienna's voice barely wavered. "It's about a medical case at Blackstone Medical." The secretary, not Margaret from the old days, looked her up and down, cataloging the department store dress in desperation. "Mr. Blackstone doesn't take unscheduled meetings. If you'd like to submit a request through proper channels, please." Sienna placed Leo's brain scans on the pristine desk. "It's life or death. A child's life. I'm sorry, but..." "Patricia, what's the commotion?" The voice froze Sienna's blood. Adrian emerged from his office, phone in hand, irritation clear on his face. He looked exactly the same. No, that was wrong. He looked harder, colder. The laugh lines she'd kissed were gone, replaced by permanent furrows of displeasure. His eyes swept past Patricia to land on her, and the phone slipped from his fingers. "Hello, Adrian." The words came out steadier than she felt. For a heartbeat, the mighty Adrian Blackstone was speechless. His eyes devoured her face, searching for answers to 5 years of questions. Then the mask slammed down. Sienna. Her name on his lips was rust on steel. "Patricia, hold my calls." He turned without waiting, expecting her to follow. Same Adrian, assuming obedience, commanding space. Sienna followed because Leo needed her to, not because the broad line of his shoulders still made her stomach flip. His office had changed. Where once there'd been their wedding photo, now hung another fortune cover. The couch where they'd made love during his lunch breaks had been replaced with severe modern furniture. Everything personal had been excised like a tumor. "You look." He stopped, jaw working. "Why are you here?" "I need your help." The words tasted like battery acid. "There's a child who needs surgery at Blackstone Medical. Dr. Chun is the only one who can perform it. So go through the foundation. We have procedures." "I did. They sent me to you." She placed Leo's files on his desk, careful not to let their fingers touch. "It's experimental. Expensive. The kind of case that needs your personal approval." Adrian didn't look at the files. His eyes never left her face, dissecting 5 years of absence. "You disappeared. No word. No contact. Not even for the divorce settlement. I didn't want your money. Everyone wants my money." His laugh was bitter. "But not you. You just vanished. Do you know I had investigators looking for you?" That stopped her cold. "You looked for me?" "For 6 months. Then I realized if someone doesn't want to be found." He shrugged, but his knuckles were white where he gripped the desk. "Now you're here. For money. How beautifully ironic. Not for me. For this child. Why this one?" He moved closer, predatory. "What makes this child special enough to bring Sienna James crawling back to the man she ran from?" "James." He noticed her name change. Of course he had. "Read the file," she managed. "Please. First tell me why you left." Closer still. She could count his eyelashes, see the exhaustion he hid from everyone else. "The real reason. You know why? Because I wouldn't play happy family? Because I was honest about not wanting children?" His voice dropped. "Or because you were already planning to leave and needed an excuse?" The accusation hit like a slap. "How dare you? How dare I? You left me, Sienna. You walked out without a word, without a fight, without even taking what was legally yours. So yes, I dare ask why. Read the file." Something in her tone must have penetrated. Adrian finally looked down, opening Leo's medical folder. She watched his face as he absorbed the information, the brain scans, the diagnosis, the treatment plan. Then he got to the patient information page. Leopold Adrian James. Age, 5 years, 3 months. The blood drained from his face. His hands stilled on the paper. When he looked up, his eyes were wild. "The birth date," he said hoarsely. "This child was born 7 months and 6 days after I left." She lifted her chin, meeting his stare. "Surprise. You're a father." Adrian stared at the medical files like they might attack him. The dates. The name, Leopold Adrian. Her choice of his name was either sentimental or cruel, maybe both. "So you ran." He circled his desk, movements sharp with barely controlled rage. "You stole my children. I saved them from you." The words exploded out. From a father who saw them as liabilities to be eliminated, who valued stock prices over their heartbeats. "You don't know what I would have." "Yes, I do. You made it crystal clear." "Make the appointment, Sienna. Don't disappoint me, Sienna." Her impression of his cold voice was perfect. "Ring any bells?" Adrian's jaw worked. He looked at the brain scans again, at the small skull that shared his bone structure. "This boy, Leopold, he's mine. Biologically? Yes. In any way that matters? No." Sienna moved to snatch the files back, but he held them out of reach. "He doesn't know you exist. Neither of them do. Lily, she has your eyes and your stubborn streak and absolutely none of your coldness. Thank God. You had no right. I had every right." Sienna's control shattered. "I'm their mother. I chose them when you wouldn't. I've worked 3 jobs, lived in apartments with roaches, skipped meals so they could eat. Because that's what parents do. They sacrifice. They choose their children over themselves. Something you'll never understand. Adrian was silent for long moments, still staring at Leo's medical files. When he spoke, his voice was strange. He has my grandfather's name. Leopold. Don't. Sienna's voice was sharp. Don't you dare get sentimental now. Just approve the surgery. Be the hero businessman saving a random child. Then we'll disappear again, and you can go back to your perfect childless life. What if I don't approve it? The threat hung between them like a blade. Sienna felt her knees weaken, but she stood tall. Then you'll be exactly the monster I've protected them from. You'll prove that 5 years later, you're still the man who would choose money over your own son's life. Adrian's smile was winter. Blackmail, Sienna? You've changed. Motherhood does that. It makes you fierce. It makes you fight. She stepped closer, close enough to see the walls behind his eyes. So what's it going to be, Adrian? Save your son or let him die. Even you can't be that cold. But looking at his face, carved marble, studying medical files like hostile takeover documents, Sienna wasn't sure. The man who'd ordered his own children's termination might be capable of anything, even letting one die to prove a point. The surgery is approved. Adrian's words were clipped, professional. Dr. Chun will operate tomorrow morning. All expenses covered. Relief nearly buckled Sienna's knees. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. He pressed a button on his desk. Patricia, clear my schedule for the next week. Family emergency. Family. Sienna's voice pitched high. Adrian, no. Yes. His smile was sharp as a scalpel. If this boy is mine, then I'll be present for his treatment. That's non-negotiable. You can't just. I own the hospital, Sienna. I can do whatever I want. He stood, buttoning his suit jacket with crisp movements. We'll take my car to Blackstone Medical. You can explain on the way how you've hidden my children. I have my car. The 2003 Honda with the grinding transmission. His smile widened at her shock. I had you followed from the hospital. Did you really think you could walk into my building and I wouldn't know exactly who you were the moment you enter the lobby? Sienna felt trapped, pinned like a butterfly to cork. You knew I was coming. I knew someone matching your description was in the building. I had to see for myself if it was really you. His voice dropped. 5 years, Sienna. You've haunted this place for 5 years. Don't. She backed toward the door. Don't pretend you missed me. You're engaged. A business arrangement. Miranda understands what she's signing up for. He moved closer, blocking her exit. Unlike my first wife, who apparently understood nothing. I understood perfectly. You made your priorities crystal clear. Did I? He was close enough now that she could see the fine lines around his eyes, the silver threading through his temple. Time had marked him too. Or did you hear what you wanted and run before we could discuss alternatives? Alternatives? You wanted me to abort. I wanted time to think. The words exploded from him, raw and unexpected. I just learned my wife was pregnant with twins. Forgive me for not immediately breaking out champagne while juggling a hostile takeover. You call them complications. Liabilities. Because that's what I knew how to quantify. Spreadsheets and risk assessments, not this. He gestured between them, then at Leo's files. Not children who might inherit my father's coldness or my grandfather's demons. Not the responsibility of shaping human beings when I could barely manage my own humanity. The vulnerability in his admission caught her off guard. This wasn't the Adrian from 5 years ago, all sharp edges and absolute certainty. It doesn't matter, she said quietly. What's done is done. Just help Leo, then leave us alone. Leave you alone? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. I have 2 children I've never met. A son dying of a condition that might be genetic. A daughter I wouldn't recognize if she passed me on the street. You think I could just sign papers and walk away? You wanted them gone. I was terrified. The admission seemed to surprise him as much as her. Adrian Blackstone, admitting fear. My father destroyed everything he touched, including me. What if that's hereditary too? What if I became him? So you decided to destroy them first? I decided badly. He ran a hand through his hair, messing its perfect style. But you didn't give me a chance to reconsider. To wake up the next morning and realize what I'd lost. You just vanished. Because you didn't come after me. The words slipped out, years of hurt bleeding through. Not that night. Not the next day. You let me go. I came home to an empty house and divorce papers. What was I supposed to think except that you'd been planning to leave anyway? They stared at each other across 5 years of misunderstanding and pain. Then Adrian's phone buzzed. Emergency transport was ready for Leo. We can relitigate our failed marriage later, he said, CEO mask sliding back into place. Right now, our son needs surgery. Our son. The words made Sienna's chest tight. He's not. Biologically, he is. We'll figure out the rest after he's safe. Adrian grabbed his coat. My car's waiting. Unless you'd prefer to risk your Honda breaking down while transporting a critically ill child. She hated that he was right. Hated more that she needed him. But Leo came first. Always. Fine. But you follow my lead to the hospital. The twins don't know about you. Yet. His smile promised battles to come. They don't know about me yet. The ride to Blackstone Medical was silent until Adrian spoke. Tell me about them. Sienna stared out the window, watching Seattle blur past. What? Because they're mine. When she glared, he amended. Because I want to know. Please. The please undid her. Adrian Blackstone didn't say please. Leo's brilliant, she said softly. Scary smart. He was doing calculus at 4, reading medical journals for fun. He has this way of looking at you like he's cataloging your soul. Like father, like son. Adrian's voice was rough. Lily's the opposite. All emotion and fire. She dances through life literally. Ballet, tap, jazz, anything that lets her move. She organizes the other kids at school like a tiny general. Sweet as honey until you cross her, then she's ruthless, protective. Of Leo, especially. They're connected in this way I can't explain. When he has nightmares, she knows before he cries. When she's sad, he brings her drawings of stars and explains how we're all made of cosmic dust. Adrian's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Do they ask about me? Sometimes. I tell them you're far away. That family's come in different shapes. She twisted her hands. Leo's been asking more lately. He's too smart to buy vague answers much longer. And you were going to what? Lie forever. I was going to protect them from rejection, from learning their father saw them as problems to be solved rather than miracles to cherish. Maybe their father's changed. Have you? She turned to study his profile. Or is this just another acquisition? Add children to your portfolio because you've conquered everything else. Instead of answering, Adrian pulled into the hospital's private entrance. The valet practically sprinted to take his keys. Everyone here knew him, feared him, catered to him. Mr. Blackstone, sir. Dr. Chun is waiting in surgical prep. Tell her we'll be there shortly. He turned to Sienna. Where are the twins now? Lily's with my neighbor. Leo's already here, in pediatric prep. She hesitated. Adrian, please. Don't tell him. Not before surgery. He doesn't need that stress. I'm not a monster, Sienna. Despite what you think. But as they walked through halls he owned, toward a son he'd never met, Sienna wondered which Adrian would show up. The one who'd ordered their termination or the one who'd just admitted to fear. The answer came when they reached Leo's room. The little boy looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, for dripping steady medicine into his tiny arm. His eyes, Adrian's eyes, were closed, but they fluttered open when Sienna touched his hand. Mommy, his voice was whisper-thin. Am I going to die? No, baby. Never. The doctors here are going to fix you right up. Leo's gaze shifted to Adrian, standing frozen in the doorway. 5 years of Blackstone genetics stared back at him. The sharp cheekbones, the stubborn chin, the intellectual intensity, even through illness. Who's that? Leo asked. Sienna's heart stopped. But before she could answer, Adrian moved forward with surprising gentleness. I'm a friend. I own this hospital, and I wanted to make sure you get our very best care. You look sad, Leo observed with that unnerving directness. Are you scared too? Terrified, Adrian admitted, and Sienna saw his hand tremble before he clasped it behind his back. But brave boys like you make fear smaller. I'm not brave. I'm just good at math. Leo's eyes drooped. Do you know about stars? When I'm scared, I think about how we're all made of stars. Dead ones that exploded and made new things. Like me and Lily. Adrian's voice was strangled. That's beautiful. Mommy taught me. She says even when things end, they make new beginnings. Leo yawned, Sienna, will you be a question and plea in his eyes. She nodded minutely. Yes, he promised. I'll be here. As Leo drifted back to sleep, Adrian stumbled to the hallway. Sienna found him leaning against the wall, shoulders shaking. He looks like my grandfather, he said brokenly. But he thinks like you. Sees beauty where others see endings. Adrian, I would have destroyed him. The words were raw. If you'd stayed, if I'd had my way, that beautiful mind would never have existed. I would have, but you didn't. Sienna touched his arm carefully. I protected them. And now you can too, if you really want to. Dr. Chun appeared like salvation in surgical scrubs. We're ready for Leopold. The procedure should take 4 hours. I'll need you both in the family waiting room. As they prepared to follow Leo's gurney, Adrian caught the doctor's arm. I need a favor. Privately. 10 minutes later, he returned to where Sienna waited, pacing. What was that about? Insurance. He didn't elaborate. The surgery waiting room was private, luxurious, nothing like the public areas where Sienna had spent sleepless nights before. Adrian shed his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves, gestures she remembered from when stress overrode his perfect control. I had them run a DNA test, he said quietly. I needed to know for certain. Of course you did. Bitterness crept into her voice. Everything needs verification in your world. Don't. He moved to the window, staring at the city he commanded. Don't pretend you wouldn't wonder in my position. 5 years, Sienna. Anything could have happened in 5 years. I'm not you. I don't jump into other people's beds when things get difficult. Neither do I. He turned, eyes blazing. There's been no one since you left. The admission hung between them. Sienna's throat constricted. But Miranda, a business arrangement. She needs rehabilitation for her family's image after her brother's scandal. I need a wife who won't disappear in the night. His smile was self-mocking. We're perfectly matched in our mutual emptiness. Don't marry her. The words escaped before Sienna could stop them. Why? He crossed to her, hope naked in his eyes. Give me a reason, Sienna. One real reason. Before she could answer, his phone buzzed. The DNA results. Adrian read them, then handed her the phone. A 99.9% match. Leopold Adrian James was biologically his son. I knew, he said softly. The moment I saw him, I knew. But I needed proof, control, certainty. She finished tiredly. Some things never change. Everything's changed. He caught her hands, studying them. Callous now, nails short and unpolished. Working hands. Mother's hands. You changed it all when you protected them from me. I'd do it again. I know. His thumb stroked her knuckles. That's what terrifies me most. That you were right to run. That they're better off without me. Maybe, she admitted. Or maybe they deserve a chance to know their father. The real one. Not the CEO. Not the billionaire. Just Adrian. I don't know how to be just Adrian anymore. You were doing fine with Leo earlier. They sat in silence, hands still linked, waiting for news of their son. Their son. The words were becoming real, taking shape like Leo's stars, dying things making new beginnings. For hours. For lifetimes. Then Dr. Chin appeared, smiling. The surgery was successful. Leopold did beautifully. He's asking for his mommy. Her eyes flicked between them. And the sad man who promised to stay. Adrian's laugh was wet. That would be me. As they walked toward recovery, Sienna made a decision. The walls between them were cracking, maybe irreparably. But walls could be rebuilt or torn down entirely. For Leo, for Lily, maybe even for themselves, it was time to find out which. Leo's recovery room was dim, machines beeping steadily, but his eyes were bright when they entered. The surgery had been a success, but the hardest part lay ahead. Healing, both physical and emotional. You stayed, Leo whispered to Adrian, wonder in his voice. I promised. Adrian's voice was rough. He sat carefully on the edge of the bed while Sienna took Leo's hand. How do you feel, little man? Fuzzy, like my brain's wrapped in cotton. Leo studied Adrian with that penetrating gaze. Are you really just a friend? Sienna's heart hammered, but Adrian handled it smoothly. For now. Is that okay? I guess. Leo yawned. Will you tell me about the hospital? Mommy says you built it. As Adrian began explaining medical technology in terms a brilliant 5-year-old could grasp, Sienna's phone vibrated. Her neighbor, Mrs. Chun. Lily won't stop crying. She says Leo's hurt and she needs to see him now. The twin connection. Sienna stepped into the hall to respond, assuring her they'd come get Lily soon. When she returned, Adrian was showing Leo pictures of the hospital's construction on his phone, her son hanging on every word. Sienna. Dr. Chin appeared. Or, in the hallway. The doctor's expression was serious. The surgery went perfectly, but I discovered something during the procedure. The malformation, it's genetic. Hereditary. Has anyone in the father's family had similar issues? Sienna's blood chilled. I don't know. We should run tests. On both parents and the other twin. This condition, if hereditary, has a 40% chance of manifesting in siblings. Lily. Sienna gripped the wall. Oh God, Lily could have this too. We won't know without testing. I'd recommend. Do it. Adrian's voice cut in. He'd follow them out, face granite. Whatever test she needs. Both children. And me. Dr. Chin nodded and left them alone in the hallway. Sienna turned on him. You knew this might be genetic. That's why you had the DNA test run during surgery. My grandfather died of a brain aneurysm at 45. My father had surgery for a similar condition at 38. His voice was mechanical, reciting facts to avoid feeling. I've been monitored my whole life. Clear so far, but genetics are Russian roulette. And you never thought to mention this when we were married? When we talked about children? We never really talked about children, did we? His smile was bitter. You talked. I deflected. Because how do you tell the woman you love that you might be carrying time bombs in your DNA? You tell her the truth. You let her choose. Choose what? To have children who might die before they're 50? To watch them suffer? He slammed his fist against the wall. I chose for you. To spare you that. You chose to spare yourself. Sienna's control shattered. You were so terrified of being your father, you became him anyway. Cold, controlling, making unilateral decisions about other people's lives. I was protecting you. You were protecting yourself. From vulnerability, from fear, from feeling anything real. She stepped closer, poking his chest. And our children paid the price. 5 years, Adrian. 5 years, they could have had the best medical care, regular screening, early intervention. Instead, I was comparing cereal prices while Leo's brain was betraying him. If you're angry at Adrian for keeping this secret, you're not alone. But can you understand the fear of passing on a genetic curse to your children? Hit that like button if you think Sienna has every right to be furious. Comment below. Would you forgive someone who hid something this important? Because what happens next will determine if love can overcome the wall, the weight of his choices finally crushing him. I thought if you never had them, they'd never suffer. Life is suffering, Sienna said quietly. But it's also joy. First words, first steps, first days of school. Lily's laugh when she dances. Leo's face when he understands something new. You missed all of it because you were afraid of an ending that might never come. Might never come? He laughed bitterly. Leo's in a hospital bed, being fixed, healed, given a chance. She touched his arm gently. That's what love does, Adrian. It takes risks. It chooses hope over fear. I don't know how. The admission was broken. My father taught me to see weakness everywhere, especially in myself. When you told me about the twins, all I could see were the ways I'd fail them. So you failed them preemptively? Yes. He met her eyes, and she saw the man beneath the billions, lost, afraid, desperately wanting what he'd pushed away. But you didn't. You chose them, protected them, loved them enough for both of us. I shouldn't have had to. The anger was fading, replaced by exhaustion. They deserved both parents. Even a flawed father is better than none at all. Is he? Adrian pushed off the wall. Because I look at Leo, that brilliant, gentle soul, and I see everything I'm not. Everything my influence would have corrupted. You're right. Sienna's agreement made him flinch. The Adrian from 5 years ago would have corrupted them, made them cold, calculating, afraid to feel. But what about this Adrian? The one who stayed with a scared little boy? Who cried in a hallway? Who's been alone for 5 years because he couldn't replace what he lost? This Adrian doesn't know how to be a father. Neither did I. But you learn. You show up. You make mistakes and apologize and try again. She thought of endless sleepless nights, of learning to braid Lily's hair from YouTube videos, of helping Leo with math that made her head spin. That's the secret, Adrian. Parents aren't perfect. They're just present. What if I'm not good enough? Then you'll be exactly like every other parent in the world. Terrified and trying, Adrian studied her for a long moment. Why are you defending me? After everything? Because Leo needs you. Because Lily, who doesn't even know you exist, has your exact stubborn streak and deserves to know where it came from. Because, she took a breath. Because I'm tired of being angry. It's exhausting, hating someone you once loved. Once, the question hung between them, but Sienna couldn't answer. Not yet. Maybe not ever. A small voice interrupted. Mommy. They turned to find Lily in the doorway with Mrs. Chun, still in her pink pajamas, tears streaming down her face. She'd clearly bullied their elderly neighbor into bringing her. Leo's hurt. She ran to Sienna, then froze, seeing Adrian. Her tear-filled eyes, his eyes, widened. You're the man from TV. The one who looks like Leo. Adrian knelt slowly, bringing himself to her level. Hello, Lily. Your brother's going to be fine. The doctors fixed him. Promise. She studied him with that intensity both twins shared. Mommy says promises are important. I promise. His voice was reverent, like he was making a vow. Would you like to see him? Lily nodded, then shocked everyone by taking Adrian's offer hand. You have big hands, like a daddy. Sienna watched Adrian's face crumble and rebuild itself as his daughter led him down the hall, chattering about Leo's surgery and how she'd known he was hurt because she felt it in her tummy. In Leo's room, the reunion was tender chaos. Lily crawled carefully onto the bed, pressing kisses to her twin's face while lecturing him about scaring her. Adrian stood back, drinking in the sight of his children together for the first time. Lily, Leo said seriously, this is Mr. Adrian. He owns the hospital and knows about buildings and stars. He looks like you, Lily observed. Same eyes, same thinking face. The twins exchanged one of their wordless communications. Then Lily turned to Adrian. Are you her daddy? The room went silent except for the beeping machines. Lily, Sienna started, but Adrian held up a hand. Would you want me to be? He asked carefully. Lily considered this with 5-year-old solemnity. Do you love Mommy? Yes. No hesitation. Sienna's heart stopped. Do you love us? More than all the stars Leo talks about. Leo, Lily turned to her twin. What do you think? Leo studied Adrian with those two wise eyes. I think he's scared. But Mommy says being scared is okay if you're brave too. Are you brave? Lily demanded. I'm trying to be. Adrian's voice cracked. I haven't always been. I made mistakes. Big ones. But I want to try if you'll let me. The twins communicated silently again. Then Lily nodded. Okay, you could be our daddy, but you have to learn stuff. Like our bedtime songs and how Leo likes his sandwiches and why I need exactly 3 kisses goodnight. I'm a quick learner, Adrian assured her. And you can't leave, Leo added quietly. Even if we're complicated. Adrian's breath hitched. Never. You're not complications. You're miracles. Mommy says that too. Lily snuggled against Leo. So you must be smart like her. Sienna watched this negotiation through tears. Her babies, accepting with the pure hearts of children the father who'd once rejected them. Adrian, stripped of all pretense, offering himself for their judgment. There's one problem, Leo said. You're marrying that lady on TV. Not anymore. Adrian's eyes found Sienna's. That's over. Everything that isn't real is over. Good, Lily yawned. She looked mean, and her dress was ugly. Despite everything, Sienna laughed. Adrian smiled, a real smile that transformed his face. So what happens now? Leo asked, ever practical. Adrian looked at Sienna, question in his eyes. She saw the journey ahead, lawyers and custody agreements, merging 2 lives that had diverged so drastically. Teaching Adrian to braid hair and check for monsters. Learning to trust again. Now, she said softly, we figure out how to be a family. A real one this time. No contracts. Adrian asked, hope naked in his voice. No contracts, just trying. As Adrian pulled all three of them into an awkward hospital bed hug, Sienna felt something slot into place. Not perfect, not healed, but possible. Some bridges, once burned, could be rebuilt. Stronger, different, but connecting the same hearts that had always belonged together, even when pride and fear had driven them apart. The billionaire CEO had lost everything that mattered chasing success. But in a small hospital room, surrounded by the family he'd almost destroyed, Adrian Blackstone was finally richer than he'd ever been. Because some fortunes couldn't be measured in billions. They were counted in bedtime kisses, sandwich preferences, and the forgiveness of children who saw past mistakes to the father trying to emerge. Love, real love, was worth more than all the empires in the world. And second chances? Those were priceless. Did Adrian's transformation touch your heart? If you believe people can change for love, smash that like button right now. Comment below. Do you think Sienna should take him back, or just co-parent? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because every week I share stories about love that conquers fear, families that choose each other, and billionaires who learn that the best things in life can't be bought. They must be earned. Until next time, keep believing in second chances and the power of love to heal.